Welcome to Drinking Alone with Friends, a podcast where three friends drink beer alone together. I'm Tud.
My name's Chris.
And I'm Obert.
And on today's episode, we're going to talk about what makes a beer bad.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I was doing a little bit of research, looking at what we all rated as crappy beers on Untappd, and I think I got some good insight into this conversation. I'm ready to have it.
See, I feel like I'm ill-prepared for this conversation, only because I try very hard not to drink bad beer, so I don't have a ton of experience with it.
And I feel like I'm an expert. I feel like I've majored in this throughout my years of drinking beer.
Yeah, and for those, pulling back the curtain, this is the second time we're recording this episode, so, it might seem like we've done it before. It's because we have.
Yeah, I do feel like I'm dusting off all my greatest hits here and just repeating my one-liners from last time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope you did some research because we already talked about this. So
yeah, it makes it.
All right, now
it makes it easier.
Now that we've revealed all that, yeah, right. You've already figured out what makes beers bad, and we're going to talk about it again.
and just for the sake of everybody at home, the reason we had to re-record it is because last time we recorded it, I sounded like I was talking like this.
Oh yeah, audio gold right there.
Yeah, it was pretty. I was actually called by the government of the United States and told that I cannot release this into the public because it would just be bad.
We would have had to recall it. There would have been a whole notice and everything. So
yeah, it would have been terrible.
I don't know about you guys. I'm ready to start talking about what I'm drinking tonight because I'm actually pretty thirsty and I'm ready for another one. So
I'm so very parched, and since you're so very eager to talk about your drink, how about you want to lead us off tonight, Obert?
Yeah, sure. I'm sticking with cocktails. Mix it up from all the beer talk.
Two in a row.
Yeah, I know, right? This is actually another one of my favorite distilleries. But before I get into that, the drink I'm drinking tonight is called a Negroni. Some people find it disgusting. Others find it delicious. And the people who find it delicious are right. It's
no
bias
here.
It is an amazing. No, it's an amazing cocktail. It's very bitter, but I really like it because as the ice melts into the drink, it adds a little bit of sweetness. So it has a very complex flavor profile. And a wise bartender once told me, if you want to know if your bartender's any good when you go out, order a Negroni, and if they make a good one or don't need to look it up, then you know you're in a good bar, that the guy can make some serious cocktails.
So what do you do if you go into a bar and the bartender doesn't know how to make the drink? Do you turn around and leave?
No, that's when you start ordering a beer from there. You know that it doesn't pass the cocktail test, and you got to just switch back to beer.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to screw up opening a bottle.
Exactly, right? So a Negroni is equal parts of three ingredients, Campari, gin, and sweet vermouth, traditionally garnished with an orange peel, which in my version I replace with a dash of orange bitters. I have just your typical sweet vermouth from, I think the brand is called Martini Blanco Vermouth. And Campari is a staple liqueur that you can find most places. But for the base of my cocktail tonight, I have from Caledonia Spirits, I have a Tomcat barrel-aged gin. And Caledonia Spirits, they are up in the Northeast Kingdom, up in Vermont, and they infuse all of their gin with honey. It's actually really tasty.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah, and there's a whole story behind Tomcat gin, and I guess it was popularized in England when they outlawed gin for a time, and so how you would tell people that you secretly had gin was you would put a picture of a black cat up in your window. So that's where the name of Old Cat or Tomcat gin comes from.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I actually was lucky enough to visit the distillery up there one day, and that's where I picked up this bottle. It's like a single barrel aged gin, and it's really good. And I think the honey adds a nice complexity, adds a little sweetness to this cocktail. But yeah, if you're up in Vermont or anywhere, you see Caledonia Spirits Gin. It's a good pickup. I recommend that one a lot.
Now, Obert, I know you've had many a gin in your day.
I have.
Well, yeah, I know it's one of your favies.
Yeah.
But where does this honey infused gin rank for you? I guess.
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, there's a lot of variables here, but this might be my favorite gin. I mean, it's not something I would put in a gin and tonic because I think the nice barrel tannin flavor doesn't really translate to a gin and tonic that well. But this is a good complex gin, and it's near the top of my ratings. Put it that way.
Oh, very nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think Tud, I think you're not a gin drinker, are you?
I am a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but I prefer to go more bourbon or whiskey. But I can get down with some gin.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're a vodka drinker, and I just feel like gin is just like vodka, but actually with some flavoring and is delicious. But
Well, like gin and tonics are delicious. They taste like Christmas trees.
yeah,
You
well,
know
the
what they
thing is
say.
like,
You gotta
What do they say?
eat all those. You gotta eat all those Christmas treats.
that is what they say. Yeah.
Christmas tree monster.
No, I recommend just going down one day and just trying sips of it. I went to a bar once and did this where I just had the bartender was trying to educate me on some gins, and he just sat me down and went from one end of the spectrum, like a really dry gin, to a really floral gin on the other end of the spectrum, and just kind of explained like what pairs with what really well. And it really that day enlightened me to the whole spectrum of gin and what you can really do with it, and how to bring out different flavors and different cocktails with some gin.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, again, I rate all my cocktails a 5. But if I'm being objective, I don't know, man. That's really good.
It's a 5.
It's a tough. It's a different scale, right? But I'll give this one a 4.5. I guess I gave the last week's a 4.25. This is a 4.5.
Okay, so we're getting there. We're almost to 5.
It's gonna be tough to top out on this chart.
Okay, all right. So we're adhering more to the Tud style of grading.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But I feel like we've talked about delicious Negronis long enough. What are you guys drinking? Let's see. Who should we go to next? Chris?
Okay. Yes. Right now, here it comes. Everybody's favorite part of the episode. Oh, yep. That's the proof. The proof is in the pudding right there.
Yeah, I think I heard the trademark on that.
Yeah, the TM at the end. If you listen closely, if you run that back, you can hear the crack and then the TM. And I just poured this like an asshole because I got a ton of head. Hashtag whoops. Hashtag bad.
Well,
Nobody's
while
ever
you're
complained about
waiting
too much
for
head.
while you're waiting for it to settle down, what are you drinking?
So I'm drinking Paloma. I don't know, which is a Gosa from New Heights Brewing here in Nashville, Tennessee. According to the can, it is a grapefruit, lime, elderflower, and peppercorn Gosa. So very interesting beer. It's apparently based off of a cocktail, which I am not much of a cocktail person. Not that I don't like them, it's just me and hard alcohol. I've had a colored past, but it's brewed with the Paloma cocktail in mind. I had one of these in preparation for the show, of course. It's sort of a tradition of mine. It's really good. It's a nice, refreshing. You get, the saltiness of the Gosa, but also, the grapefruit and the lime come through really, really strong. It does have a little bit of a bitterness to it, as I think most sours tend to have.
And I'm sure that's the grapefruit influence as well, too.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Probably some of the peppercorn coming through as well, but nice, easy drinker, especially on a hot day. I mean, you think of a hot day, and you probably automatically jump to a shandy or a sour or something along those lines. And this would be something that I would drink one or two of on a hot day.
Can I ask you this? Would it be a drink you would go to if you're having like tacos at home?
Well, unpopular opinion, I don't like tacos.
Okay. What if you were having like, I don't know, like
I,
say like spiced meat wrapped in a tortilla with like lettuce and tomato or something like that?
See, I love
it's,
those. I have those almost weekly in my house.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
the spice meat tortillas. That's what they're called down here. It's a southern
Right.
thing. Yeah, no, I think it would do well with something with a little bit of spice to it, and it's really, like I said, just really refreshing, really solid gosa. And mind you, I'm not the biggest gosa fan, so taking that into account, it really does impress me.
so you were saying that there's a little bit of peppercorn on that.
Yeah,
How does that fit into that?
you
Good
know,
question.
I don't know. I don't know if it just comes off the end a little bit. I mean, it's not a ton. It's the can even says a hefty amount of lime that comes through really, really strong, and just a touch of peppercorn and an elderflower. So, in order to discern, I think it just adds a little bit to like the bitterness of it, and it come like the end. You definitely get something that isn't quite the citrus that you get hit with on the front half. So
So how does what does an elderflower taste like?
I am not the person to ask.
No, it's funny you say that. So, because one of my favorite go-to cocktails and one that I'm sure I will be bringing on the show very soon is a Paloma. And I'm not going to go through my whole recipe right here, right now, but Saint Germain is an elderflower liqueur. And I think for our episode, when I do it, I'll have to buy a little nip of Saint Germain and see how it tastes with or without the elderflower and see if that, because it adds a little bit of sweetness to it. That thing that balances out the sourness and the
Yeah.
bitterness. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That does make sense. I don't know what elderflower tastes like, and
Mm,
there is definitely there's it's very tart, but I feel like it would be even more tart with something else
yeah.
without the elderflower, I should say.
Actually, the night you got engaged, I was making champagne cocktails, which is champagne, Saint Germain, and club soda. So if you think back to that fateful night, and you can remember, that's what elderflower tastes like.
Oh,
Oh,
remembering,
bingo.
yeah, a drink that I had 4 years ago.
Yeah,
But
Yeah, I don't know about
it was
that.
on the night you got engaged, so you should always remember that night forever and ever and ever, right?
Absolutely. I remember most of that night. I don't remember all of it, but I remember most of it. That's pretty good. It was New Year's, so there's that.
it was New Year's. It was New Year's. Hence the cocktail, the champagne. Right.
Yes, yeah, right. That was the only reason to celebrate. But I do want to throw some call outs to New Heights Brewing here in Nashville. A smaller brewery than, say, Southern Grist or Bearded Iris, but they put out some really good stuff. I've had a handful of their beers. Just I haven't visited the brewery yet, but it's on the to-do list. They started back in 2014, so they've been open for about 4 years now. Some folks moved over here from California, where he was a volunteer at the microbrewery, and decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to open up this place, and like I said, have had a handful of their stuff, pretty solid, including this Gosa that I'm drinking right now. Other than that, that's about it. It's on the to-do list.
Nice.
New Heights, if you're listening, it's on the to-do list. I'm sorry, an 8-month-old really hinders your ability to go drinking.
But don't
How
worry, he's coming.
how's their selection? Do they have a bunch of rotating stuff, or is this the year-round offering from them?
I honestly don't know. It's the first time I'd seen it in the grocery store, if that says anything, and I have seen a lot of different stuff from them. So I'm not 100% positive on exactly what beers they brew and how often they brew them. So checking out their website right now.
Nice. No, yeah, I feel like it's cool that you have a bunch of good local stuff that you can find right in the supermarket. That's always awesome.
Yeah, it definitely helps. But for those wondering at home, let me see. It is a.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I know, I'm trying to find it. Doesn't say.
We can cut all this out if we want.
Yeah, I'm probably going to, but. Oh, there it is. So for those of you listening at home, That's 5.7% alcohol, which is actually a little high for a sour beer. Generally, I see them a little lower than that. But and also, if I were to rate this, I would rate it a pretty solid 3.5 out of 5.
Nice.
So
Good.
and take into account that's including a style that I don't really care for all too much.
Yeah, and I want to get on to Tud's beer, but quick question.
Yep.
That's how you pronounce that? Gosa?
Yeah,
That's how you pronounce the E at the end?
Yeah, it's Gosa. Yeah.
G-O-S-E, Gosa, got it.
Yeah.
I always thought it was pronounced Gose up until I heard somebody at a brewery call it a Gosa, and that somebody was like an actual brewer. So
Oh,
I
not
thought
me.
it was just, oh, okay.
No, I thought it was.
I thought it was
Goes,
just Gose. Yeah.
but until I ordered a Goes and I got the the Gosa. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I must have just read it phonetically.
Yeah, right?
So,
I
anyways,
just switched the S and the E in the
Yeah,
name. I'm
right.
dyslexic. How dare you insult my disability?
I put the sexy in dyslexia. So, anyways, Tud, what are you drinking on this fine evening?
So, I am drinking a Little Brook from Fox Farm Brewery, which is a hop-forward American blonde ale. I'm sure that you guys are aware of what Fox Farm is, having come from Connecticut. But for those, who are listening, Fox Farm's a small little brewery in Salem, Connecticut that is, it's a farm. They do a lot of the stuff right there. The guy who's the head brewer and the owner, his wife's dad owns a farm down the road as well called the actual real Fox Farm, and he grows grapes. So every once in a while they'll add the grapes into there. So it's a really nice little brewery. It's my favorite brewery in the state. It's probably top 5, top 3 in the state. But about this beer, it's a hop forward American blonde ale. I'm not a big blonde ale type of guy, but this one's pretty good. It's got a little fish on the can, as you guys will see on our Untapped and Instagram later on. Yeah, so to me, it tastes like it's hopped with probably Citra, but it's hard for me to tell, and the can doesn't really say. But overall, I would give this beer probably a solid 4.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Which is basically a 7 on anybody else's scale.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to jump in here and fanboy out for a little bit, but I love Fox Farm. I used to live 10 minutes from Fox Farm. If you have the chance, if you're driving through Connecticut, it is worth making the stop. I'm wearing a Fox Farm t-shirt right now, which I normally do. So I'm a huge fanboy, admittedly, but their beer is top notch. Great stuff.
And just for the crowd out there, he may only actually own one shirt, because I only ever see him in the one Fox Farm shirt.
I own 2 Fox Farm shirts. So, and when I go up to Connecticut in a week, I'm going to own 3 Fox Farm shirts. So
There are other breweries, right?
I know, yeah, but so it's not only the cool logo, and I want to represent 24/7 365, but it's also like really comfortable.
The material is really, really soft.
Yeah, there are other breweries, but none of them sell Fox Farm t-shirts is the problem.
That is the ultimate problem.
No, that brewery will always hold a special place in my heart as well. I mean, it was just a cool place in that town, Salem. Like, it's like just a quiet little Four Corners area. And when that brewery came in, it kind of made it a spot to kind of a cool downtown spot to hang out in Little Salem, Connecticut.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Now I see people talking about it and people like asking to trade for it on like craft beer enthusiast sites, and it makes me feel good. I was like, I was there when it opened. Like,
yeah,
I was one of the first people.
So since you guys have moved away, they've started to can as well, and they come out with cans every other week on Fridays. So 2 weeks ago, I wasn't able to go, but hopefully this week, this should be the canning week. So hopefully they come out with a nice IPA, maybe one I haven't had before, and hopefully I'm hoping like a porter or a stout, just because it's been a little It's been a little cold here, but yeah, you guys have definitely missed out since you guys have moved away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, the beer you're drinking, is that a 22-ounce bottle?
No, this is a 16-ounce can.
Oh, okay. So this is a can. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, no, this is a can. It's 4.6% ABV. It's delicious. I'm actually really enjoying this beer.
That's awesome. Yeah, they do great work.
So have you guys heard the new news?
Sorry, could you say that again?
So have you guys heard the new news?
The new news, you say? What
The new news.
The new news.
I heard some of that old news, but
Listen,
I heard...
not none of that old news. We don't want to talk about the old news. That's old.
Where's the old news channel?
That's called the History Channel. No.
Anyway.
So what is this new news?
So, I don't know if you guys have heard, but Trillium announced that they will be opening up a brewery in Stonington, Connecticut. Not North Stonington, not Mystic, Stonington.
Nice.
Yeah. So they're going to be bringing all their beers, their entire lineup, from their Fort Point and their Canton locations down to a new location that they're going to build in Stonington, Connecticut, and it's going to be a farm brewery, kind of like Fox Farm, but also with some food. It was announced a couple days ago. I'm assuming it's probably going to take 1 to 2 years to build, but it's good to know that one of the best breweries in the country, if not the best brewery in the country, is coming to Connecticut.
I know. If I was still living there, I would be like jumping for joy right now. Now it just kind of makes me kind of sad.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think you actually texted me the article the other day, and I was
just trying to rub it in.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's so huge that Trillium decided to move. Well, not move, but build a location in Connecticut. It's pretty awesome stuff.
All three of us have been to Trillium before, but for like listeners who don't really know what Trillium is, like what makes Trillium such a big deal?
Unlike Treehouse, Trillium does everything that they do really well. Their stouts are good, their sours are good, their IPAs are obviously world class. But at the same time, unlike Treehouse, when you go to Trillium, everything is always available as soon as you walk through the door. So you walk in, you want 3 cases of beer, all different types of beer. Boom, no line, no wait. You're out the door, put it in the car, and you're done. You want to go back in and get a drink before you leave? Boom, walk in, no line, no wait. They give you a pour. There you go. Have fun. See you another day. Unlike Treehouse, where you go up there and you have to waste 3 to 4 hours of your time to wait in line to maybe get, at currently 3 to 4 cases of beer. But on top of that, you have to spend $400 because you never know the next time you're going to be back at Treehouse. In my opinion, as you can tell, Trillium is just a better brewery from this standpoint.
Yeah, the handful of times I've been to Trillium, I've been amazed by the beer that I've gotten and the amount of times that I had to wait in line, which is none. So, I mean, yeah, and it's, if you stand in line, it's like maybe 10 people deep and it moves quick. So it's not like Treehouse, where I remember finding out that they're releasing Very Green and driving an hour and 15 minutes and standing in line for an hour and 30 minutes and getting my 6 cans of beer that I spent $72 on or whatever it was, and then leaving. So it is a much nicer experience. Now, granted, I have not been to the new Treehouse, so I can't throw shade at that, but I'm very impressed with Trillium every time I go.
I have, and I will throw tons of shade. I just feel like Treehouse should have figured this out by now. Not saying that Trillium is cheap. I mean, it's not. Their beers are just as expensive as Treehouse. But if I'm going to spend that much money, I want to be able to go there, get my beer, and go home.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's awesome about it is like you look at what the beer scene in Southeast Connecticut was like in 2010, and it was like, okay, you could go to Cottrell and maybe get some Mystic Bridge IPA or something like that. But since then, the whole scene down there has just gone crazy with Grey Sail in Pawcatuck, or Westerly, I mean. And then you also got Outer Light in Groton, which is very good, and Beard, which also is opening a new brewery. I see their pictures all the time. Yeah, and Just now, it's like with the addition of Trillium, it's going to be, you could definitely make a Saturday out of it to go down and check out all those breweries, and there's some great wineries down there too. Like it's just a drinking mecca now.
Yeah, just for everybody who's might not from the area, Jonathan Edwards is down there, Stonington Vineyards is down there, and if you're going down that far,
Farms.
Saltwater Farms. If you're going down that far, take a trip to Fox Farm too. As as I'm drinking their beer right now, just a shameless little plug for their brewery as well.
Big news from the beer world.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to tell the listeners about my fun afternoon. I took my car to get an oil change today. As I was there, I noticed that the place that I was at was right next to a park that I'd heard about and I'd never been to. So I was like, I'll check it out. Started walking through the woods, doing this little hike. Then all of a sudden, from in front of me, off to the side, a deer runs through, and I'm like, oh shit, a deer. I don't see deer every day, and the deer that I'm used to, they just run away when they first see you. Not this one. This one and its mate, I assume. I don't know. It was a doe and a buck. But they just like stand there. They're like checking me out, eyeballing me. And I start walking, and he like kind of shifts his head over. So it was a pretty cool thing. I felt like I was channeling my inner Obert, getting out there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they were evaluating whether or not you were a bear.
It's very possible. I mean,
Yeah.
I am a large presence, and I also have a beard, so that helps.
Basically look like a bear. Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell the story about finding the tire in its natural habitat.
Yes. Yes, I saw this big tractor tire just hanging out. It was majestic. It was beautiful, really. I had never seen one in its natural habitat like that before. Just a little story about my day.
Yeah, right? I know someone was saying this weekend that I guess it was all over the local news, but there was just a grizzly had wandered down into the valley and was just, hanging out at somebody's house. No big deal. Just a typical Saturday.
just
Flathead Valley.
Just a bear.
Yeah, right? No, yeah, we have tons of that kind of stuff around here, and yeah, you definitely see lots of deer this time of year, getting ready for the colder months.
Yeah, we surprisingly haven't seen a lot of deer around here, or bears. I mean, thank God there's no bears. But I am pretty sure that there's a pack of coyotes that live in my backyard, because when we're outside having a fire, all you can hear is just a pack of them like wandering through the woods. And I'm just happy that I have sticks and fire to throw at them if they happen to come try to eat me.
A couple things. I don't think a coyote's going to come try to eat you. And even if it tried, I don't think it would be able to be successful at eating you.
I mean, a pack of them, maybe.
Maybe, I guess. Pack mentality.
Right. Yeah, no, so coyotes are really good at sounding like there's a lot more of them than there actually are. Like, it sounds like, you could hear what it sounds like 6 or 8 coyotes, and it can actually be as few as 2 of them, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me there's a chance I'd survive a coyote attack?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Shout out
You
to...
should go fight a coyote.
Well, if Roadrunners taught me anything, I'll win automatically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you just have to paint a hole in your wall in your house, and then you can get in, but the coyote can't.
Correct.
That's how they get you.
But yeah, I was going to say shout out to Outside In podcast episode. I think it's called What's Up with Coydogs. Learned a lot of facts about coyotes on that one.
Oh, there you go.
Interesting.
We'll link to that in the show notes. How does that sound?
Okay, I guess we're going to do that. I'm going to have to look this up.
Hey guys, don't
I'll send
worry.
you the
We're
link.
going to link to some podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, while you're listening to our podcast, listen to this other podcast. But listen to our podcast first, please. Please, please,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, I mean, come here for the beer, go there for that coyotes.
The natural pairing.
Yeah. So should we move on to our headline title discussion of what makes
a beer bad?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So I'll kick this off. To me, a bad beer is just that. It's a bad beer. It's not a middle of the road beer. It's not your typical grab a beer off the shelf, your Bud Light, your Coors Light. It's a bad beer. I was looking at my Untapped, which I'm now approaching 2,000 beers on that Untapped, just to look at what my lowest rating beers
Bragger.
were, and Yeah, well, I mean, if you drank more, you'd be able to catch up to me. So I was looking at my lowest rated beers, and my lowest rated beer is actually a grapefruit and pomelo Truly. Which, speaking of pomelo, that's just a coincidence that Chris is drinking a beer that's made with pomelo. But
Paloma.
whatever, pomelo, paloma, it's something I'm never gonna eat.
That's funny because it's close to the saying of potato you can get to with a different words.
Potato, they're the same thing.
Yeah.
Pomelo, paloma. I'm not.
Paloma,
Pomelo,
yeah.
paloma, it's all the same. So we're gonna scratch that out because if you're just call it a malt liquor, don't call it a seltzer drink, don't call it a beer.
Yeah, that shouldn't even be on Untapped. Yeah.
It shouldn't be on Untapped. Untapped should delete that. Another Untapped. Let's get on this.
Yeah.
It's a hashtag, by the way.
Sign our change.org petition to remove all spiked seltzers from Untapped.
All malt liquor. I mean, if it's not a beer, it shouldn't be on Untapped.
I hear that. I agree with that.
Well,
so,
what about ciders? I like the Johnny Appleseed badge.
No.
Not a beer.
I'm with
okay.
Tud. Yeah.
It's.
Okay.
I believe Untapped is for beer. I mean, have I rated things on Untapped that aren't beers? Clearly, I have, as we're talking about this nasty ass drink I just drank. But yeah, I think Untapped should delete them all. So, anyways, I was looking at my lowest rated beers, and my actual lowest rated beer I gave a 1 star to was Schafferhofer Grapefruit by Ragnenberg Group. It's a shandy radler, so it's a sour / sandy. It's basically like if somebody took grapefruit juice and peed in it and put it in a can.
Sounds delicious.
So
We're talking about bad beers.
Oh, that's a. Listen, if you want some bad beer, I'll send that to you in the mail. Don't worry.
No, you're good.
No, I'm good.
So anyway, that's a bad beer. It's basically like they tried to do something that shouldn't have been done. It's a monstrosity. My next bad beer was Happen Harry's Tennessee Ale, which I actually had when I was in Tennessee visiting you back in June, Chris, which was a brown ale that it came off to me as a little too watery and just nasty. Just didn't have the flavor I was looking for or expect out of a brown.
And it's also like a sub 2 star, like a 1.5.
That is, yeah. I rated that a 1.5 out of 5. Obviously,
Can you go between 0 and 1, or is 1 as low as it goes?
You can do 0.25.
Okay. And nothing has made it that low for you.
No, I gave that grapefruit and pomelo. Did I say that right this time? Pomelo.
Yeah.
A half a star. So apparently, I didn't think it was even as worse as it could be. That's stuff that Chris's coworker's dad had brewed and gave to me. That stuff probably is, a 0.25.
That earns the quarter star. Yeah.
If not just a flat out 0.
Yeah.
But it can take rust off a bumper.
That it can.
Well, it's good, comforting to know that just like the 5 star for you is so rare, that the 0 star is equally rare. That the bell curve holds true on both ends of the spectrum.
I hope to one day find that 0/0.25 commercially sold beer.
I'm okay never finding that.
It's clear that I could go down to my basement and try one of those beers and I'd be fine and be able to rate it and be like, hey, I found it. But I want to find it out in the wild in its natural habitat, kind of like the tire, Chris.
No, I've gotten a beer before that was clearly like, I don't think it was a bad beer as much as it was just a really bad batch. It was just like the yeast profile was all wrong, and it was like, the bottle like foamed over. It just tasted like, it was just like almost like rotting. And I was like, and I don't think it was the beer that was bad. I think I just got a really bad batch of it. So I think that's close to what you're describing.
Yeah, it sounds like it, but I just, my goal one day, that's more my goal than finding the 5-star beer. I want to find the worst beer.
Yeah.
That's interesting, I guess. I'd rather drink garbage than drink the best beer ever.
Right. Anybody can find the best beer. It's a lot harder. There's a lot less hype about the worst beer, Chris.
I guess that's true. Yeah, you don't hear worst beer ever brewed. Come have it now.
that's a personal journey you got to go on to find the worst beer. You can't just read beer forums and professional reviews. You gotta actively search that out.
I mean, even El Presidente Light is not a .25.
Wow.
Shout out to my wedding.
Yeah. So what I would say for me, what makes a beer 0-star beer or the equivalent is like Ted says, not a Bud Light. A Bud Light is it's got its time and place, right? If you're at a NASCAR race, if you're playing beer pong, if you're just outside doing stuff, where you just want something light and refreshing, Bud Light is there for you. Coors Light, I'm more of a Coors Light man, but it's there for you. And it's not even like a Busch Light or a Keystone Light. I think those, while they're not as good as Bud Light, they still don't break into the low one territory for me. I think for me, what makes a beer a bad beer is it has to be a style that's really out there and funky. Like if you're a brewer and you're like, oh, we're gonna try this crazy beer. It's gonna be a jalapeno, potato, nitro IPA.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. That was weird.
But and you're at a restaurant or you're at a brewery and you're like, oh wow, that's really crazy. That sounds like something that wouldn't be that good. But you know what? I'm going to be adventurous today. I'll try it. And it's like, nope, that's just as terrible an execution as I thought it would be. I think you have to do a really bad style and then have it produce a beer that should be thrown away and not sold to anybody, but just sell it to people anyway. And I think that's what would be the pot of gold at the end of your rainbow, Tud. You got to find that beer, and that's your 0-star right there.
That's what I'm on the look for.
Yes.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if that exists, but I'm on the lookout for the jalapeno potato beer now.
Yeah, me too.
If you happen to find it, let me know.
Yeah, so when I think about a bad beer, like I said at the top of the show, I try not to associate with them so much. And for that reason, I don't have a ton logged into Untapped. But I always had this philosophy where, like, your Bud Lights and your Coors Lights and your Miller Lights, the ones that you can just keep going back to, and they have their time and place, and they're consistent, they're what they are. Those are your 2.5s. So those are your, middle of the road, not too great, not too bad. They're exactly 2.5. Like, I'm never going to be like disgusting a Bud Light,
You mean the best beer ever?
That which is a 5-star in Tud's world.
Bud Light is a 5-star.
It's always consistent. It's always great.
I agree. I mean, yeah, we were talking about this a little bit on the last time we recorded this, but yeah, Bud Light, there's something to be said about them that they're able to keep it so consistent, and how, if you have a beer loaded up with hops and malts and all that stuff, you're going to be able to hide a lot of imperfections. And with Bud Light, there's nothing to hide behind. If you screw up Bud Light, it's easy to tell.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, there takes a special amount of skill to be able to, duplicate that millions upon millions upon millions of times.
Yeah, quick tangent. Have you guys been to the brewery up in Merrimack, New Hampshire? The Bud Light or the Budweiser Anheuser-Busch brewery? Either of you?
I was not aware there was
and
one.
I have not.
Oh, Todd, let me tell you, it's worth going. And there's like a free tour, and it's a $20 tour, and the $20 tour is well worth it. And like, you go into the rooms and they have like all of these flat screen TVs with all these, numbers and charts and all these processes going on, and like, they take it super, super seriously, and the amount of science and stuff that goes into them making those beers. After doing that tour, I like earned a whole new respect in my mind for how they do what they do, and it's very, very impressive.
Huh, I didn't know that. I'll keep that on my list for the next time I'm in Vermont.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. Of all the tours I've been to, that one was one of the best ones.
Ooh, wow, that is impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been, yeah, I'm sure we've all been on, we've all been on, okay, what are the four ingredients in beer? You've been on millions of brewery tours, but these guys really, really went above and beyond.
I don't think I ever would have thought I would have heard that Bud Light had one of the better tours for
Yeah,
breweries.
I'm sorry about that. I feel like I totally cut off Chris's, what makes a beer a bad
No, you're
beer.
good. That's fine. This is what we do. Uh, no, you're good. That's pretty cool. I have a fondness in my heart for the Harpoon tour up in Vermont that I've been on, like I think 2 or 3 times already. That's probably my favorite still. Very very good tour.
The Harpoon Tour in Boston, by the way, is one of the more underrated tours because you pay $5 and then at the end you get to drink as much as you want to in like an hour, which is pretty cool considering that you're in Boston
Right.
and you can just
Yeah,
pretty much walk home after that.
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. And they have food now too, which is nice. When I went there, they did not have anything to eat.
Oh, to the one in Boston or the one up in? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one in Boston. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I went there a couple years ago, and they had food then. Well, I don't know if they had food. They had pretzels. They definitely had pretzels because we ate a few. But yeah, that was fun. I didn't go on the tour there. I only went to the tour up in. Actually, it's New Hampshire, huh? Not Vermont. Or is it Vermont?
I think it's
No,
Vermont.
It is
it's
Vermont.
Vermont.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm confusing myself. But anyways, yeah. So I only went on that one tour, but I went on it a couple times. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. So, Chris, what makes a beer a bad beer?
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I can echo kind of both what you both were saying. I was looking at my Untapped, and the lowest rating I've ever given was also a 1, and it was a Berliner Weiss, which I generally like Berliner Weisses, but it was the Back East Brewing Berliner Weiss Tart Cherry. Now, there's a couple things going on here. I don't remember this beer. It was over 2 years ago, but I'm not a big cherry fan, so that's always just a negative to start out with for me personally. And yeah, it must have been pretty terrible. Obviously not memorable, even though the global rating is pretty high. So I'm curious as to what happened. Maybe I just got a bad one. I don't know, but yeah,
Maybe. Yeah, I know. It's funny to think. I bet 2 years ago you never would have thought, oh, yeah, I'm going to be talking about this on a podcast 2 years from now. This is really crappy beer.
right.
I will tell you this. I have talked about my worst actual beer, like that grapefruit piss beer, multiple times to tell people to avoid drinking
See,
it.
and like I wish I had Untapped, but there's one beer in particular that comes to mind, and it was at again my favorite establishment, Two Brothers Pizza in Salem, Connecticut. I was there with my wife, and she was like, "Oh." She at the time she wasn't a big beer drinker. Now that not that she's huge now, but she's definitely come a little bit of ways, being married to me. And she was like, "Oh, pick out something I'm gonna like." So I just nonchalantly looked down the list. I saw something that said cherry. It wasn't this beer, but something that said cherry. I'm like, "Oh, you'll probably like this. It's it's cherry. It's probably gonna be good." So it gets to the table and it's in like a little like 8 ounce pour, and I'm like, "Oh man, that's kind of rough. Like an 8 ounce pour for however many dollars it was." And she drank it and she's like, "Oh no, you're gonna have to finish that." So I took a sip, and it was like a cough syrup. It was disgusting.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was awful. But then I looked at the menu again, and turns out it was like 17% alcohol. So
Oh, okay. Guess that explains the cough syrup.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it was like barely a beer at that point. And I was like,
It was probably that back east Berliner Weiss, you know,
no,
times like 4. It's like they're like super barrel aged
yeah,
stuff.
no, because the Berliner Weiss that I'm looking at is 3.5% alcohol, not 17%. So, but yeah, it's just I don't know. That was the worst beer I've ever had. I must not have been on Untapped then because it's not in here. So, but yeah, that might be closing in on the 0.25 scale.
Now we're going to move into a new section called Why Babies Are Weird.
Yeah, Ted, this is the section where you talk about how weird your baby is. Is that?
Yeah, well, I figured that, I had a lot of experience in this realm, and I was able to tell you guys why babies are really, really
It's
weird.
many,
Okay.
many children.
Yes. All right. The millions and millions of Tud children around the world.
Oh, God.
Wow, yeah, I know. I just shuddered.
So anyways, Tud, why are babies weird?
Well, I'm gonna let my main man lead off with this and let us
To me,
know why his
it's
baby
always
is weird.
been the unblinking eye contact in the grocery store that weirds me out the most.
Oh, that's weird,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Or how they have like the innate ability to just not care and just throw their body like they're
That
like there's no care in the world. Like just
that's
Here I
certainly
come.
not that's not untrue. It's pretty accurate. So, as the only actual father, at least that we know of, I guess I should say.
Right.
Quote unquote legitimate father.
Quote unquote legitimate father. There's been a lot of things that I've noticed over the past 8 months, and the overlying fact is babies are weird. Like they're so weird. So my son, he's 8 months old, learned how to crawl a month or two ago, however many. I feel like it's been 8 months since he's known how to crawl. But he is now just like, okay, so we've been giving him food, like actual food, like people food, not just milk and not baby food, but like, little pieces of egg and little pieces of toast and grapes and, watermelon and whatever. So now we'll be sitting in the living room having either fruit or something to eat or whatever, and he is crawling between us, like begging for scraps, pretty much.
Basically
Like
like
a
a dog.
Yeah, basically like a dog. And he'll sit there and he'll wait and he'll bounce up and down because he wants something to eat. And then you'll give him something, he'll chew on it, he'll swallow it, and then he'll sit there and he'll bounce up and down again. And if you don't give it to him, he gets mad. And if you run out, he also gets mad. And I'm like, I don't know what you want, kid. Like, it's just not there anymore.
Oh, when you said run out, I thought you meant like Dad's going to get a pack of cigarettes. He'll be back in a minute running out.
No.
Ooh.
I couldn't do that to CJ, but honestly, he thinks that me running out of watermelon is just as bad.
So like when you're done giving him the food and he's done begging, do you pat him on the head and scratch him behind the ear?
Not so much. I mean, there are times I rub his head. He's a baldy right now. He's got a little bit of peach fuzz on his head now, so I'll rub his head. But there are times I'm like walking around the house and he'll be following me or something, and if I want him to like follow me back into the living room, for example, I'll be like, "Come on, CJ," and I'll like pat my leg like I would if he were a dog.
Yeah, how's his fetch game?
Not great.
No.
He doesn't quite.
Still working on fetching.
Yeah, he doesn't really fetch. He'll chase you. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. And he likes
I feel like
bothering
if a
cats.
dog chased me, I'd be a little bit nervous if a dog chased me.
Yeah, I guess those are two different things. But he's like, it would be like a puppy, so it wouldn't really be like a big dog. I mean, he's a big baby, but
She's saying he's like a dog, but like a dumber version.
I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
Let's test how far we can bring this down the road here.
No, he's a smart baby.
He's a huge baby.
He is a huge baby. Oh man.
He might be the biggest baby I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, he's probably not the biggest baby, but he's a big boy. He's well over 20 pounds now. He's a monster.
Yeah, you should sign up for like baby Pee Wee football as a
Yes.
linebacker. That's a thing, right? That they do, right?
yeah, and
Yes, the football on your knees baby edition league.
baby world's strongest baby. So
Ooh. Yeah. I like that idea.
I mean, his future's already like well laid out. He's going to be, starting for the Colts. He's going to win 7 Super Bowls. So, at least 7 Super Bowls. I don't want to put a ceiling on him, like at least 7 Super Bowls.
I think you could start babies sumo wrestling at the age of like 1. I think that's the minimum age where they're old enough to understand the concept of how to win a sumo wrestle.
Can I gamble on it?
You probably can.
I mean, that was where my mind went to at first too. It was like, yeah, I'd watch babies fight.
Oh boy, we're
I'd
on
bet
some
gamble
list
on that.
somewhere now where they're like,
Yeah,
we're all on a list.
yeah,
I
right.
mean, they're babies. They can't hurt each other.
Instead of cockfighting rings, we're talking about baby fighting rings. We're done.
That's like exact. Yeah, we're done. It's it. We're shut it down. 2 episodes. Good job, guys.
Yeah, we made almost a whole 2 episodes.
Yeah. Well, 3 if you count the bad one.
That's true. Yeah.
Hey, I'd like to point out that it wasn't me that brought up the baby fighting ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, I don't know where you got that idea.
Yeah.
Well, as long as we all know CJ would win.
Right. That's the whole. I guess that was where we started. I would put money on CJ in a baby sumo wrestling contest.
Right. Well, I mean, he is the world's biggest baby, so I feel like he would win.
Yeah. So should we talk about our 3 favorite things?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we came up with a name for this segment, right? We're going with the 3 handles. 3 handles on our frosty mug of wisdom.
Oh, there we go. Yes, I like that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, inspired by our podcast, generously provided by James Vaklovic. Check him out. What's his website again?
He's on Facebook, James Vaklovic Designs. You'll be able
Right.
to see some of his work there. He also has a email you can follow, which is jamesvaklovic@gmail.com. So if you want any logos done, hit him up. He does good work.
Make sure you follow that email address, listeners.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we'll share our three handles on our frosty mug of advice. Who wants to go first? I gotta come up with one.
I'll go. I got one. So recently I went to a concert here in Tennessee. I went to see Fozzy, which is Chris Jericho's band, the wrestler. Yes, the wrestler. He does sing, and he's actually pretty good at it. But anyways, there was a band that opened for him called Stone Broken. Have you guys heard these guys?
I have.
I have not.
Okay, Tud has. I'd never heard of them before. I'm not hip with the hop, like the kids like to say. So I'm not generally.
Is that still a valid saying in today's day and age?
I think that's what the kids say.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody says. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hip with the hop.
Hip with the
Yeah.
hop. But so I'm not up to date on new music, especially like new rock music. But these folks were awesome. They were just so good. I remember leaving, and of course, Fozzy was the reason I went. But I was, finding myself downloading some Stone Broken stuff. So if you have a chance, check it out. They have a new album out now called Ain't Always Easy. They're a group from, I believe it's England, and it was one of their first tours in the United States. So check them out. Tud, you said you listened to some of their stuff, huh?
Yeah, they're on Sirius XM Octane. Jericho has a show on there where he talks about different bands that he likes. That's the first time I heard them. After they were picked up by Jericho, they started being in regular rotation on Octane. I like them. I think the lead singer sounds a little bit like the lead singer from Nickelback. The band doesn't sound like Nickelback. I know that Nickelback gets a bad reputation, but the lead singer does have that kind of really good raspy voice that you want to hear in a rock band. I personally like them. Everybody should check them out.
Ted, has anyone ever told you that you have a perfect raspy rock voice before? Because I think you could really pull it off.
I have been told before that I can sing a rock song or two.
Nice. Yeah, I would watch that. I'd listen to that. Nice. So yeah, for my central handle of our Frosty Mug advice, I'll go with the same thing I went with on our last deleted recording, which is wall-mounted bottle openers. I just got one. I'm a huge fan. There's just something really satisfying about that prying action you get against the wall. It's like a perfect bottle open every time, especially if you have something there to catch the cap. That's the only downside when you open a bottle on the wall. But it's a drinking podcast. I must say, if you've never used one before, check it out. It looks classy in your kitchen, depending on how much of a bachelor pad on a scale of 0 to 10 you live in. But I recommend wall-mounted bottle openers.
I had one in my last house, and it was a lot of fun. And now that I'm thinking about it, it might still be there. So if you're listening, new owners of my old house, you're
Which
welcome.
we must assume they are, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
They're probably
How
one,
can they
huge
not?
fans of the podcast.
huge
Two, therefore also huge beer drinkers. And three, therefore are really grateful that you left the wall-mounted bottle opener because it brings joy to their life.
Yes, exactly. All of those
Look at
things
Look at all those things.
are bound to happen, or to
Yeah.
have happened.
So, Obert, does your bottle opener, how are you collecting the cap? Like, so I have a wall-mounted bottle opener that's in the shape of a bear head, and below it is a little bucket. So when I open my bottle, the bottle opener falls into the bucket, and then when I want to empty the bucket, I just take it off the wall and throw it away. Or throw the contents away, not the bucket. So what?
Gotcha.
New bucket time.
Yeah, new bucket time.
Just throw it in the backyard, and I don't know. I haven't seen it, so. No, I'm still working on that. I want to get either some kind of a magnet system. Right now, I just kind of push the trash can as close as I can to being underneath it, but that doesn't work. I need a better system than that. So
I mean, you
might
could
go
catch
with.
it with your hand.
Yeah, I mean, typically the advantage of the wall-mount bottle opener is you only need one hand, right? If I had two free hands, I might as well just use my keychain like a Neanderthal. But yeah, I'll have to figure out some kind of a system.
Cool.
Yeah, so Ted, what do you got for us?
So my third item of the week is the new Spider-Man video game that came out on Friday. It's the first Spider-Man video game I've ever played in my life where I actually feel like Spider-Man. It's fantastic. It's set in an accurate representation of New York City. It might be one of the better superhero games I've ever played in my life, and it's up there with that of like the Batman games that came out a few years ago. So yeah, that's my thing. Everybody should go check it out. It came out last Friday. It's only for the PS4, so if you don't have a PS4, go out and buy a PS4 and then play this game.
Nice. That's a pretty strong recommendation if it's worth buying the system for.
Yeah, I actually saw some of the screenshots from a friend's Instagram, and it looks pretty badass.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I have a 4K TV, so it looks great, but I've seen it on non-4K TVs, and it looks pretty good. I've only gotten about 2 hours into the game, but so far I can tell I'm really going to enjoy it.
How many bad guys have you caught in webs so far?
All of
Like
them.
the famous ones.
Oh, the famous ones? None of them.
None of them yet. Have you gotten a job as a photographer?
I have not. I've surprisingly spent a lot of time swinging around the city and pretending to be Spider-Man. Also while
I
singing.
guess that's not that surprising. Yeah.
Also while singing the Spider-Pig theme song from the Simpsons movie.
I mean, that's literally exactly what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be offensive, but you sound like a pretty bad Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I
that's
probably
fair.
am.
Yeah.
All I do is swing around and sing songs and don't catch bad guys.
So are you still Peter Parker, or have you gotten the costume and everything?
Oh no, you start the game off. You know, Peter Parker in this game is already living on his own. This is like think like Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man. So he's like living on his own. Like he's a bachelor. He has his own apartment. He's paying his own bills. He's a photographer. That's the Spider-Man you're playing as. You're not playing as. You're not playing as.
You're not living with
average.
Aunt May. You know.
Right. He's gonna have dinner with Aunt May at some point. That's part of the thing.
Okay, so she's still kicking. Got it.
Yeah, she's alive.
Nice. Well, that all sounds good. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us this week on Drinking Alone with Friends, the podcast. You can follow us on all of the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Untapped. And I think we are DAWF Podcast on all of those platforms. And especially make sure you look up the Untapped if you want to see pictures of what we're drinking, especially, and our ratings, more importantly, and feel free to chime in on any of those platforms. We're happy to get some audience engagement here. Or if you want to just write to us and send us a little note, we love to have some listener mail. It's our address is dawfpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to use our hashtag Untapped. Let's get on this. Wherever you get your podcasts from, particularly if it's iTunes, we would appreciate if you rate, review, and subscribe to our show. It helps us out, helps other people find us, helps our audience grow. So especially just starting out, that'd be huge. So I'd like to do a thank you, shout out to Caledonia Spirits for that barrel-aged Tomcat gin I have from them. Sad I'm not going to be able to find it here in Montana. I'll just have to really enjoy what I have left. Yeah, shout out to Fox Farm and New Heights Brewing, Connecticut and Tennessee, respectively, to those delicious beers we had tonight. And let's see, is there anything else? Oh, I want to thank James again for that great logo we have. James Vaklovic Designs on Facebook. You guys, anything else to add?
Yeah, make sure that you guys send us any emails with any thoughts, suggestions, or questions that we can answer on the show, or any segments that you'd like to hear us talk about. We're always open to suggestions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only that, like beer, drink recommendations, whatever you want, just send it right to that email. Follow the email, as we like to say. I also, when you go on Instagram later, because everybody goes on Instagram, you'll see that my beer is in a amazing glass. I just want to shout out Pour Character, Pour Character. They do awesome artwork onto glasses, especially if you're a beer nerd like myself. Video game nerd like myself. Awesome design work. So check them out. They deserve a checkout.
Yeah, what was the glass that you have on there?
So the one I'm drinking out of today is my Hopmander glass, which is basically a Charmander from Pokemon, but instead of a flame on its tail, it's a hop. So it's pretty
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So check that out on Instagram, and you'll see Hopasaur coming out hopefully soon.
If you guys want to send us any beer, any listeners want to send us any beer, feel free to forward it all to us. We can be bought. Our ratings can be bought on Untappd. Just for free beer.
All right, and with that, I'm Obert.
I'm Tud.
And I'm Chris.
And remember, if you're drinking alone, do it with friends.
Don't forget to use the hashtag Untappd. Let's get on this.
No, we're done.
Tud, we
already
can't keep doing this.
Listen, I'm always going to talk.
Every time.
Yeah, I just got the weirdest sense of deja vu. Like, I just spent the last hour with my